So glad to be back exploring more. Oh, I said the word exploring. That's kind of be important today. I'm Michael Dismuke. I am a freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures RPG, lead writer on Captain's Log RPG, in addition to doing fiction writing for Star Trek, plus some other stuff, a lot of cool products, which you're going to hear about today. So happy to, of course, have this show where we talk about everything Star Trek's RPG and Star Trek adjacent topics. This show is not a show unless I have my erstwhile companion for nearly 4 years, my fellow lover of butter cake in Washington, D.C., Jim Johnson.
Oh, that was really good butter cake, wasn't it?
Wasn't it, though?
Tempted to go back for more, but it's just too hot right now.
It's so
good. Yeah, hi, everybody. Jim Johnson. I am the project manager and line editor for the Star Trek Adventures RPG, the Captain's Log solo RPG, Fallout RPG at Matrices, a bunch of other stuff. Also a fiction writer. Working on my own fiction, publishing more of that coming up here pretty soon, and writer of various and sundry other things that you'll be seeing in the coming months and years, which is going to be very exciting. We have an all-star cast of guests here tonight. Some of them are no strangers to the show, but we have one newbie, which I'm very excited about. Always excited to have new folks come into the show. We'll be doing more of that in the coming months and years as well. But for tonight, we've got some new ones, and I'll just go around the horn here and just have everybody introduce themselves briefly, and then we'll jump into the meat of the show. So, Al, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
How's it going, everyone? I'm Al Spader. I'm a freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures, and I've also done a bunch of stuff on my own, the Sentience role-playing game, and the Once Upon role-playing game. I also just submitted my first Octung Cthulhu adventure, which should be releasing hopefully here in the next month or so. And Aaron and I are also working on another little project together that we'll talk about in a few.
All right, very cool. Glad to hear you branched out into Octung Cthulhu and doing more stuff with Matrices. I can't wait. At some point, we'll have to hobnob and talk about your experiences with John and how you got along with all that stuff. So,
Julio was awesome. He was really fun to work with.
Future show, probably. All right. Yeah. And Aaron, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Aaron Pollyea. You know me from a lot of Star Trek Adventures products. I've been working on it since the beginning, and very honored to do so. I've worked in the past with BattleTech, other games such as that, but my real passion has been Star Trek Adventures for the past umpteen amount of years now. And as Al said, we've been working on some other projects that we'll be talking about too.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, it's 9 years.
9. Wow.
9 years. It's hard to imagine that's been happening. And then certainly last but not least, we have a new writer with us. She is working on this particular book with us for the first time. Very excited. AJ Fox, please introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. I am AJ Fox, she, they pronouns. I am a TTRPG streamer, producer, graphic designer, all around nerd about the space. I'm very excited to have been given the opportunity to join the team on this project. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So glad to have you.
Very glad to have you, and I absolutely love the hexagonal light fixture that you have behind you. That is so cool. I'm sitting here watching it pulse and ooh, that's kind of fun. And as is our tradition on this here show, we always ask new guests 2 questions. First question is, what is your favorite Star Trek series? And the second question is, what is your favorite Star Trek character, or who is your favorite Star Trek character?
So for a long time, I'd say that my answer was Voyager, and it still kind of is, but Deep Space Nine has found its way into my heart a lot. And honestly, I'd have to say that everybody's favorite space terrorist, Kira Nerys, is probably one of my favorite characters, tied very closely with Jadzia Jax.
Don't give up on Voyager so soon, though. Believe me, Voyager is it.
Listen, Voyager was my childhood show. It has such a place in my heart, more than ever. But I find everything about DS9 right now it is just so like ahead of its time and evocative, and it's really something that's comforting in the world that we live in currently, I think.
Mhm.
Very relevant.
You're right about that. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Michael, AJ, we need to get on a show again sometime. And really, I don't think we've done a lot of shows where we really dug deep into particular characters. Although we did do that episode with Kai Wynn and Ducat where we tried to rehabilitate them. I think we need to do I think we need to do a deep dive on Nerys.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Talk about how you probably couldn't have that kind of a character on TV these days. I think it worked.
Probably not.
It worked when it happened.
Really?
I don't know. I mean,
Oh, good subject. Okay, I'm plugging it in right now. We'll invite you back, AJ. I want to hear your opinion on that.
We'll explore that in more detail, and that's my ham-handed segue into the topic for this evening. The brand new Star Trek Adventures book has just gone on pre-order, or has just recently gone on pre-order. I'm not quite sure when this episode will air, but on July 9th, whenever that was recently, we just put up the pre-order for the new Star Trek Adventures second edition exploration guide. This is a 144 beast of a book, hardcover, U.S. letter, all the usual full color things that all of our books are, and this one is really a toolkit designed for game masters and players to design literally everything: star systems, planetary systems, planets, and then biomes on those planets. 9 different biomes. Say, coincidentally, Al, having just worked on Octon Cthulhu, this book was inspired in part by the Unexplored book that came out for Octon Cthulhu a couple years ago, which is all about different biomes, how to generate different things in biomes, how to create different challenges in those biomes, story starters, inciting incidents, all that great stuff. So I looked at that when that came out, and I was like, ooh, we could put a Star Trek spin on this super easy and cut out some of the content that was unique to the World War II and add in the sector building stuff and a few other things. And then also Nathan Dowdell, the system developer for 2D20, he had an opportunity to write a chapter all about new character stuff. So not only are we exploring planets and planetary systems, he added a whole bunch of new content for you to explore your characters, including some really cool new optional rules for characters that I hope people dig into. And I've assembled this group here because you've all worked on the book, and we're going to talk about the book kind of at a 10,000 level view. Unlike some of our previous episodes, we're not going to do a deep dive into every chapter in excruciating detail, because who wants to sit through that, right?
Some people do. I want to talk about a little bit more inspiration. For sure, the Octon Cthulhu Unexplored book was inspiration, but I also want to say I drew a lot of inspiration from Starforge. So Iron Sword Starforge. And so I'm going to want to talk about that this episode, about where, because I tell people constantly, I bring the Starforge book into my Star Trek games. I really do. It's such a good compliment to it, especially Captain's Log. So we'll talk a little bit about that too, Jim.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. And in fact, I've heard some people that are playing Starforge bring Captain's Log into their Starforge game. So
yeah,
there's a nice crossover there. And I think it will probably not surprise a whole lot of people that the very, very early gestational stages of this book actually started life as a Captain's Log supplement. We were thinking we would do some Captain's Log supplements. We got talking. We were doing second edition at the same time. We were like, oh, maybe we do this as a book, and maybe do this as a crossover book as opposed to a specific Captain's Log supplement. We thought this would be a stronger a book for second edition, which just so happens, 99% of the stuff in this book is completely compatible with Captain's Log. I can't imagine. I mean, you don't need the talents, but like everything, you can just drop right into Captain's Log and enhance your Captain's Log game. So, first question, I wanted to just ask everybody, just go around, whatever order you want to. I always love hearing from the writers, like, what was your reactions when you heard about this one going into development and getting tapped to work on it, and what were you hoping to see in the book, and what did you bring to it? So, whoever wants to jump in, just open forum, basically. Or I'll pick somebody.
I can go first.
Go ahead, AJ.
As the brand newbie to this project, I was very excited to get called in. Swamps was my chapter. Spoilers for a book that's soon to be out for a pre-release. And I actually drew a lot of inspiration from my own backyard, honestly. We have a little wetland patch just on the back end of my family's property here. And I spent my childhood wading through the hammocks and like through all the terrain that I added into this book, getting myself knee deep in mud and finding frogs and salamanders throughout my throughout my young life. And yeah, that's something that really just it was either if I got the forest chapter or if I got the swamps chapter, I would have been happy either way. And being able to draw something from inspiration in real life was really nice and special.
I have to say you educated me a lot. There's words in here related to swamps I had no idea existed. And so like I have to say that this will apply to a lot of the chapters, but to your chapter too, AJ, it's like this is also an education in biodiversity, biomes, microclimates. Like there were so many words. I didn't know what a hammock was or a fen. You have all these different type of biomes. So people, if you just want a book on just biology and botany, it's worth picking up just for that. I didn't know there were so many different varieties of swamps.
It's pretty special for sure.
Yeah, I was super excited because I'm a middle school science teacher, right? I teach biomes, I teach, geology. And so if I got to write a ton of words about caves and talking about chimneys and things like that and deserts, which, I always talk to the kids about. And I'm like, I could go talk about this till I'm green in the face. And now I got to share that information with everyone and put the sci-fi spin on it. So I was super excited and had a lot of fun pulling out a lot of the vocabulary terms that I use, in my 7th grade classroom, which was cool.
I can say just like everybody else, I was really excited, mainly because I got to do all the exploration stuff, all the sectors, stars, planets, and I got to pull out a lot of my astrophysics background to dump into it. And again, like everybody else, just sort of get to use phrases and terms that I normally don't get to use, except maybe in Michael's game that I get to play in. But that's just because that gives me the opportunity to. And I hope everyone gets to actually learn some terms and phrases or ideas out of those sections too. And boy, I could have probably gone on for twice as long. But thank you, Jim, for giving me a word count.
Yeah. And I did mount. Oh, go ahead, Jim.
Well, I was going to say, just happy to. I think we're trying to be a little more careful with our page counts on the 2nd edition books, just to keep them a little friendlier. And we could have easily gone another 100 pages on stuff. In fact, there are some things that you guys worked on for your respective chapters that I didn't have room for, and we also didn't have artwork for certain items. And hopefully we'll see those realized in a future product. But we'll see how things worked out.
I hope so, because there's some really good stuff that got cut, people. I'm just telling you, I'm not gonna tell you what it was. Jim will roll it out eventually, I'm sure, on some blog somewhere. But there were some really cool ideas that we just didn't have room for. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did mountains and plains, or mountains and hills and plains, and I have to say I had to do so much research on plains. Like I didn't know that there was more than one type of plain on the planet. I'll tell you the truth. But what it all came down to me with all of everyone's contributions is the world building possibilities here. So like I mentioned, Starforge, I kind of feel like Starforge is kind of like 10,000 foot level when you're building these planets, if you go into it, and then you all of a sudden flip through the middle and you end up in vaults, right? Really detailed interiors. But there was that gap in the middle of what is, what we see on Star Trek all the time is people walking through jungles, walking through caves, of course, walking over plains. And there, it's like, okay, that's it. But where's the detail of all the variety of events that can happen there? And so I really felt like this book pockets right in the middle of that, from that 10,000 foot level down to that inside a building level. But this filled in that gap. And I roll it up now. And the stories you can come up with if you're all of a sudden in a cold environment or you're in a swamp, and then you match it with Captain's log, some of the weird oddities in there. Because again, we couldn't get as granular as we wanted to there because of page count. I'm just like, this is like rounds out the world building guide for any sci-fi or fantasy game out there. It applies to more than just Star Trek. It applies to many genres of games.
Yeah, I think one of the things I always enjoy about being the lead editor and just the overall developer of the books is and that's part of the reason why it takes me so long to get these things done is because I get caught up in all the story possibilities that you all come up with, right? The writers are sending me great drafts, and I'm going through the tables and I'm going through all the lore about the different, especially in this book, the different terrain types. And like you're saying, Michael, it's like, oh yeah, you're on. Okay, the crew's in a desert. Okay, yeah, it's a desert. But then you start getting into the granular details that you've all provided. It's like, oh, I could do this, and I could do this, and I could do this. And then I pull out the D20 and I'm rolling on the random tables, even in the rough manuscript format, and like I can feel the stories just spinning up. And even because I'm a fiction writer, I'm even thinking about stories that have nothing to do with Star Trek. It's like, oh, I can plug that into Scrivener, and I can start doing this and this and this. So it's just really exciting to see the. I just love that you all and our other writers have really just embraced the idea that we pack as many story hooks and ideas into every chapter, every paragraph, every sentence almost. And it's just great to see the sheer volume of possibility that's packed in here.
And before we dig into some of the chapters and overview, can we please talk about the cover? Because I have to talk about the art here, Jim. I remember the minute I saw it, I called it. You remember what I said the minute I saw that cover? If anybody, and I wonder if anyone else saw it. If anyone looking at the cover, what movie did it harken to in your minds? I called it right away.
I don't know if I can share my screen or not. No, I don't think I can.
There you go.
Well, folks can go on the website and they can go look at it on the pre-order.
Okay, the minute I saw it, I told Jim, "This is the Great Conjunction. This is the Great Conjunction from Labyrinth."
Oh, okay. I don't remember that conversation, but
Dark Crystal.
No, not Labyrinth. Dark Crystal,
yeah.
not Labyrinth. Sorry, Dark Crystal. I said this is the Grand Conjunction, and that's one of my favorite movies, Dark Crystal. And I was just like, this is beautiful that you brought it into Star Trek.
That was I'll be again 100% transparent. When I wrote the design brief for this, the very first thought in my head was I want to see our iconic characters in an actual full size orrery with like spinning planets and things, holographic things all around them. And absolutely I don't remember the character's name. It's not Magra. It's
I forget her name.
Whatever her name is in Dark Crystal, but that was absolutely one of the foremost images in my mind. And I think being Gen X, it came out in the late '80s. There it was, very bright. And Ariel Aurier, our director, he found. I think this is Paulo. Hang on, I want to make sure I get the artist right because we're trying to credit our artists here. Hang on.
That's right.
No, this is Rodrigo.
Rodrigo Toledo.
Toledo did the cover on this one, and just like he sent me the rough draft of this, and I saw how that blue, the blue holograms just popped off that cover. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh yeah, he got it. He got it all in one. So I'm really happy to see how it came out, and hopefully we can figure out a way to get the full cover flat available for people to just enjoy. Without all the trade dress on it, just so you can enjoy the front and back cover, right? Because like all of our covers are wraparound, and right. It just doesn't do it justice to see just the front. Although the front's pretty solid, I think.
Well, and again, the riffing possibilities on this. I mean, this is one of those illustrations that makes me want to write a game around it.
I'd buy it as an art print for sure.
Right? So cool. And this is like, my mind immediately like, where are they? Where are they, and what's their mission at this point?
Who is this dapper gentleman that is describing the scene to them? Who is this?
Mm-hmm.
I want to know his backstory. What's going on here?
So, Jim, I have a follow-up question.
Sure.
So I'm starting to piece together now a pattern with the 2E book covers. And there definitely seems to be a character focus. Is that intentional? Are you trying to make it more character forward on the covers?
Yeah, 100%.
Just random space shots with ships?
Yeah, absolutely. I think really even going back to when we started development on second edition, I think I really wanted, not that I don't love the starships and the pew pew and the stuff blown up on the covers. I love it. Right. I think it's great. But I think I wanted to move more toward the characters because, at the end of the day, we watch Star Trek for the characters, right? It's Kirk and Spock and Kira and Odo and Janeway, and it's especially the Legacy series, right? You were inviting those people into your home 26 times a season, and it was always the characters that you were coming back to over and over again. And for an RPG, it's always the characters that are because the characters are the main focus of the game, right? And I really wanted to emphasize that as a role-playing game, it's all about. It's not all about the characters. It's primarily about the characters. We're not a Starship Tactical Minis game. We're not a that type of game necessarily. Again, not that I don't love the Starship Pew Pew. I think we did it really well in first edition, and personally, I think we did it a little too much in first edition. I think. Because it's I think and this is probably just me preaching at this point, I apologize, okay, there's a starship on the cover, that's cool. Almost 99 times out of 100 I think it was always a Federation ship, right? And it's like, okay, well, what about the Klingons? What about the Romulans? What about all the other varieties of species that are out there? What are they doing? It's just a ship going off and doing stuff in space, which is cool. Again, still very cool. But I really wanted to get the more personal touch in here, and Ariel really wanted to get more colors on the covers too. And I think you see that with the core rule book. We really leaned on the Strange New Worlds aesthetic. And their amazing color palette, like Strange New Worlds' marketing team is just amazing. Like the stuff I've seen for season 3, all those colors that they're it's crazy. I love it. And we wanted to get more color on the covers, and we definitely wanted to focus more on the characters. So Al, good job on spotting that trend.
Cool.
I like that it has a sense of wonder about it. That's what I like. Like I can imagine myself in that, and I would be like, I'm interested. I have that sense of adventure. I just want to explore and sit in that for a little bit. So yeah.
Thanks, Al. Thanks, Aaron. Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one of my. I didn't have a mood board for second edition, but I was certainly thinking about all this stuff and churning in my head. And I think one of the things that I've always loved about Star Trek RPGs is that they allow you to push the button, right? They allow you to push the sense of wonder button, because my best friend, who was my co-GM for the longest time, he's legally blind, and he wanted to imagine what's out there in space, what's different, what's possible. And when we played the RPGs, it was always our narration and the world building we were doing verbally and in our minds that opened up the possibilities, right? Because he couldn't see the art as well. So yeah, I'm pushing that. I want us to push that sense of wonder as much as possible. And I think that's what I really appreciate about your drafts, is that you really brought it in. Every biome has got really cool stuff in it. And hopefully we'll give people an opportunity to do just some amazing stuff, even in your, bog typical swamp or desert or tundra or whatever. It's like, okay, it's a tundra, but look at this cool stuff over here in the corner that you can do.
May I ask a question? What brought the exploration guide to the top of the priority list as the release that needed to come out now?
I don't know that it was necessarily a priority. I think it was just how it worked out in the schedule. We knew we wanted to do the tech manual first, and we cranked away on that. And then this was just it worked out really nicely that the Unexplored book had come out, and we had that as kind of as a framework to say, okay, yeah, we can do this. And I was reasonably confident, having read that book. It was like, it would not be a huge lift to pull this together, right? There was certainly research, and I would love to hear everyone's what was your approach to researching your respective topics. But this wasn't like having to do a deep dive into 60 years of Star Trek lore to figure out, what was happening in this episode, and what was happening in this episode, and what was this overall arc work. This is like, we're creating a toolkit. We're creating a really deep toolkit for specific things. And I slotted it in between the tech manual and the next book that's coming out. And we cranked away. And I was lucky earlier in the year, Nathan had some room in his schedule. So he was able to crank out several of those character focused chapters with all the new mechanics in there, and that just helped move things along a little faster. And then of course Ariel did his great job with the artwork. So Michael, I don't know that we had if we were super intentional about doing this like right away, but I think there was a few things that confluenced, if that's a verb, together. And part of it was we really wanted to do something that was kind of sort of related to Captain's Log, because Captain's Log was a unexpected huge success for us. I mean, even 2 years later, it's still selling really, really well. And more importantly, people are still getting huge value out of it. I mean, we're constantly seeing new people come to Captain's Log and post their adventures and their stories online, which is, for me, super gratifying. And Michael, I know it's gratifying for you too. And we just want to find ways to add more tools, like more random tables, more stuff. And I think it didn't hurt that the technical manual also had a whole bunch of random tables in it too. So between those random tables and these random tables, you add all of that to Captain's Log and first edition and second edition. I think hopefully game masters and players will see that they've got just a wealth of additional tools that we've thrown into the toolbox.
Yeah, there's not enough time to play it all. It's really torturous and horrible of you. It's very torturous and horrible of you.
It is.
I have a question for Aaron. Aaron, when you were doing all of the sector design and system design and all that type of stuff, I know you did a little bit of that in the Shackleton book, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How much did you pull from that? Did you re-envision that? And did you look at the ever so famous go-to book, The Traveler Guide? That's the book that most people go to when they start looking at systems and things like that.
I did not look at Traveler at all. I've actually only seen the original core book that was released back in like the 70s. I saw one like at a used bookshop one time. I think that's about all I've ever seen of it. But I did look at Shackleton, what I did for Shackleton before, and then I expanded on it, or I just wanted to re-look at what I did and maybe go, okay, I could have done this better, or maybe I didn't do enough with this, or I really like that. I'm going to take that just wholesale and, slot it in. But most of it I changed, I tweaked a little bit. Yeah.
Cool. You have a follow-up question to that, Al?
I do. I was just gonna make a comment that like that right there, those chapters right there are so perfect for the Klingon War tactical campaign, because if you're zooming in on a particular planet or a particular skirmish or something like that when you're playing the overlay and you don't have a planet ready, there you go. You roll some dice. You got a planet and a system ready to go. You know what I mean? So I thought that those chapters are just great.
Now I have a side question just because I got to get to know you better, AJ. Could you tell us before you even came into Star Trek, because I think this was your first Star Trek Adventures project. Can you talk to us a little about what brought you into the TTRPG arena and then into Star Trek Adventures?
So I've been playing RPGs since high school, essentially. About 2003 is when I started playing 3.5 Dungeons and Dragons. But Star Trek Adventures, I've actually been playing since first edition back in 2018, I believe. My friend Stacy had invited all of us to join in on a campaign that he wanted to run. And I was the captain of our intrepid Sovereign class starship. And I liked our adventures so much that I wanted to podcast them and then I realized how much work editing was. But somewhere in between there, I had ended up going to Gen Con and met someone who said, hey, well, you like trying to perform in front of an audience. You've got that drama kid energy. Just come on and we'll bring you onto an actual play. And that sort of all culminated with me eventually meeting my partner, who introduced me to Samantha Webb, who was the head of brand from Modiphius. And Samantha brought me on for Star Trek Adventures actual play on the Twitch channel. And then introduced me to Jim, and like pretty much the rest is history from there. It's all just kind of a big snowball effect.
Cool. Wonderful. Okay, good. I was curious about that. I was like, yeah. We're always happy to see new writers. Jim's excellent opening doors and making sure that we have more voices in Star Trek Adventures. So I want people to get to know you. And of course, we'll probably have you a lot on the show now since you're writing.
Oh.
That's kind of how it happens, right? Sure. You get in and then you keep doing and more and more and all kinds of different stuff. So that's always exciting. Yeah, well, cool. Awesome. Let's see. One of the things I wanted to just point out briefly is that I alluded to it earlier. Nathan wrote a really cool subsystem for characters who wants to use them, where you can have secrets. You can have secret traits, secret values, and secret talents part of your character. And of course, you always want to have a conversation with your group ahead of time and your game master before you do this, because you don't necessarily want to spring things on your players without getting everybody on board, right? But when he wrote that and I read it, I was like, oh man, we can. So you're not only exploring, space and planets and stuff, but you're also exploring the inner lives of your characters in interesting and different ways. I mean, and that's so Star Trek, right? I mean, we see that week in and week out, episode after episode. We're always peeling back the layers of the characters and learning something new and different and surprising. And you're like, oh, that's not Bashir, that's a changeling. We didn't know that for 8 episodes or whatever it was. Spoiler alert, even though it's been 30 years. So I just, if you've all had an opportunity to glance at those chapters, or even just, having heard the basic premise of what those rules are those something that you would game?
The minute I read that chapter, I was like, oh, Commodore O from Picard. I was like, yes, this is like how you build a Commodore O character if you want to do that kind of thing. For those who don't know, Zot Vosh Romulan embedded in Star Trek in Starfleet for what, 25 years probably, if not longer, maybe even as a child, in the Picard season 1. Yeah, Picard season 1. But yeah, I to me, I was like, oh, I love Romulans. I think anybody here plays RPG with me knows I am intrigued and love the Romulan culture. And I was like, oh, this would be the perfect way to embed somebody that way.
Yeah, I think if you're playing even our pre-gens, right? Isn't the Commodore she's got a major secret, right, that she's keeping hidden except from just the doctor. So I think that you could apply some of these to her, like swap out a talent here and there, and use the rules for that truth eventually coming out. I think that's really, really cool. Yeah, like I said, you just need to be sure that the table is comfortable with telling this type of story. And there is guidance in here about a session 0 and how to continue that discussion as you are feeling out these secrets.
Yeah, one of the ideas that struck me when I was editing the manuscript was like, oh, if my group is using the creation and play option instead of fully creating your character and then playing, or you can create it as you go, kind of like how they explore and develop characters on the shows. I was like, oh, I could start my character with a secret, but I may not even know what that secret is until we get into the game, right? And then over the course of gameplay, I could either come up with an idea and say, hey, game master, maybe this is what my secret is. Can we fold that into the story? Or the game master can say, hey, here's what your secret could be, and that could fold into it. Or maybe even another player could say, oh, hey, I think I've got an idea for your character's secret. Maybe it's this, or maybe it's this, and just kind of like see how the story continues to unfold and really play with it.
Yeah. Was there a determination reward for revealing your secret, especially if it like screws up the current storyline? I would love. I don't think there was, right, when I read through it.
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
Like I would even mix in that if you're doing creation and play, and if your secret disrupts the mission somehow, there you go. You get a point of determination for it, almost like we treat values. Because everyone knows who plays in my games. I push people to conflict. It's like that's what makes it so sweet, is when players willingly add conflict to the game. So I could really see adding that a little homebrew mechanic for that.
Oh man, and then I'm picturing the Scar mechanic from the Federation Klingon War, right? You could have a secret Scar like Ash Tyler, right? Not actually being Ash Tyler. And like, oh man, you could go really deep with this and overlap with some other systems to have a really, really cool, unique character.
Or even Lieutenant Laan now. Right,
Yeah.
Laan has the same complexity. So did Tasha Yar. Really, she had that, right? Like you can in the game say, well, this is traumatic to me because of, and make that a secret or a scar. There's so many ways to make these characters complex.
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite tools outside of Star Trek Adventures is what's called the 5-4-3-2-1, which is 5 things that are integral to your character, 4 things or 4 individuals that are important to your character, either adversarial or friendly. And then one of them is secrets. It's 2 secrets, one your character knows and one your character doesn't. And this is actually something that is really good at sort of integrating that without even having that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 system in place.
I
It's still a
love
great tool
that.
to have, but this is just a way, it just automatically bakes it into the system, which is wonderful.
I'm writing down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 because that's going to have to be another show, AJ.
I'll send
Please
you.
do.
I'll send you a Google Doc about it.
Please do. I want to see that. Yeah, I've never heard
Is that
that.
from a particular game system, or is it a?
I forget who exactly did it. I believe it was actually a screenwriter who created the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. But we've incorporated into a lot of actual plays as just a character building tool, and it's very good. It's basically, it ends up being just a single sheet that tells you everything that your GM should know about your character, and it gives your GM wiggle room for adding plot points or throwing in an adversarial character here and there as like a good plot twist. I'll send you the Google Docs.
I love that. I may adapt it. I may put it on the blog, continuing missions, and the adaptation of it, just so people have it to think about. But that sounds so cool.
I may just need to throw that into my writing file and use that for my fiction, because that sounds like a great way to develop character. I love the idea that they have a secret that they know and a secret they don't know. I mean,
it is definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, AJ. Appreciate that. All right, so we can riff a little bit here. Just you're all familiar with STA, so that's great. Al, you've already talked a little bit about the tactical Klingon tactical war campaign book, and I'll tell you, when Aaron, when you sent the draft of the building the systems and building the planetary systems and stuff, it really got me thinking about the tactical war campaign, especially, and this is something I'm not that familiar with, so I'm going to need those of you who are more familiar with it to educate me. But the whole RPG meta concept of the West Marches style of gaming, where you just kind of like, you just go off in a completely random direction, and you just start building stuff as you go and you explore. I think you could totally use your system with this. And then Al, you add in the whole tactical campaign component to that. You could your war, right? Whether it's the Klingon Federation War or the Dominion War, just some new war, like maybe the border skirmishes with the Klingons. You could literally do I'm assuming, I don't know West Marches that well, but you could just start going off into a whole new sector of space and just see what happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the ideas that I had in my head. Was I wanted to have somebody be able to sit in astrometrics, just like in Star Trek Generations, and go, that sector there, what's there? Zoom in. What are the stars there? What's interesting? And then be able to build a whole campaign wholesale out of just a few pages, and be able to build up ideas of what you can do, what you can find, what interesting things might be there. Even if you don't really know yet, you still can see from a distance, these are the stars and these are the planets, sort of like long range sensors. And then, hey, go from there. Captain's log, you could just build it out further on your own with other tools, or the tactical campaign. Same thing. You can always have something to do.
Well, and again, I'm going to go ahead and throw in Starforged again, because you could even develop factions from that too. So who are the factions of the Star Systems? What are the spaceborne perils? Again, stuff we didn't have time to fit into the exploration guide. Like, I like the fact how you mentioned you're zooming in, and you use all of these books to zoom in more and get more details, and all these random rolls make it impossible to ever have the same type of system and factions and populations there. So I love how you built that, Aaron, with the star systems, because if you want to go very technical and say, okay, here's the science behind the geology and the solar systems and stuff like this, and then Starforged and Captain's Log add the personality to those systems, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, and I think what's brilliant about these chapters is it's kind of IP agnostic, right? So you could use it if you're playing Star Wars, if you're playing, if you're playing any other, Starfinder, and you need a planet. here it is. Like this is the new way to, like, it's here, to generate an entire sector or even just a system. Like it's, yeah, I love that it's applicable to, any game that is sci-fi with space travel, right? You want to make a new system for your Orville class ship to go to, do it. You know what I mean? So I love the fact that so many of the books that we've been putting out they kind of go beyond just Star Trek Adventures. They're usable in so many different ways.
And don't think that like the Star Trek planetary classifications make it only for Star Trek, because I put enough description in with the planetary classifications that you can tell exactly what I'm talking about. And I try to put more detail into it about new exoplanets that we've found even recently over the past few years, the types that we've found, because like what were hot Jupiters in the original planetary classification system, it just really wasn't there. So expand upon that, detail each one of these classes out enough, and you would know exactly what you're talking about, regardless of if it's Star Trek or not, or even real life.
And you don't necessarily have to know what a class M planet is to know that it's Earth-like, or that it can hold humanoid life potentially.
Exactly. It's all there in the description. Like, oh yeah, it has an oxygen, atmosphere. There's free oxygen in the atmosphere, enough to breathe for humanoid life, blah, blah, blah. Yeah.
Yeah. I picture GMs and players, if they're flexible. I know my group is hecka flexible. Like they can take a random idea and run with it, and I don't know where it's going. So I picture someone doing a sensor scan, and I might have my player, I might slide the book across to the player and say, whatever you roll randomly, that's your obtained information. That's what you're learning. Like maybe you don't have to craft it out. Like have fun as a GM, even exploring, than everyone having to build on this story. Those sensor sweeps now can be super exciting when you slide these random tables across to your players.
Yep, and I think there's plenty of other RPGs that use the trait, the idea of traits, whether they're truths or whatever. And I think one of the things I really appreciated that we were able to, that we had the room to add into this book, is for every biome we added a sidebar of like, here's a whole bunch of different traits that you can use for this particular biome. Sometimes 10, 15, even 20 different traits. And then each type of terrain within that biome also has additional traits associated with it. So as the tradition with second edition, we're trying to lean into the trait system a little bit more, make it more user friendly, but also just more present, because traits are so important. I think having just done that actual play with Guy Splanders, we used traits a lot, and there were some really challenging things that we had to attempt in that episode that would have been really, really hard to do if we didn't have some of those traits helping us out. In fact, Michael, we did that a little bit in your game too. So it's definitely lean into the traits and take advantage of those random tables that we've included, and also just the list of traits. And then the other thing I wanted to note, and this is a question for all of you in terms of your research for your biomes, is I wanted to make sure we had room for a sidebar just to connect it to Star Trek a little bit and say, okay, for each biome, list 3 to 5 episodes or movies or something related to Star Trek. So if a game master or a player says, "Oh, let's do an episode in the desert," okay, what episodes should I go watch that are related in any way, shape, or form to a desert? Like where can I pull some ideas from? So maybe just anyone who feels interested in, like, what was your research process like? Did you actually just sit down and start watching some episodes? Do you have them top of mind? Like tell me about your or tell us about your discovery of those ideas.
I watched the episode of Lower Decks, Room for Growth, and that's where you find out that swamps are actually in the area under hydroponics on most ships. They have a swamp type area because that's where all the water from the plants goes. It makes its own little mini biome within the ship, which I found really interesting and evocative. That could just be like, oh, hey, there's a plant down here that's now going to try to take control of the ship. That just fed into a whole different plot hook for me.
Yeah, and I would say that there are a lot of them that stuck out to my head immediately that I went back and rewatched and, probably pulled some quotes from and whatnot. But there were a couple of the biomes where it's like they're only in this type of biome for the B plot or the C plot. And I had to wait, well, is that something that's really showing what the biome is all about? And so on and so forth. So I watched just about every single one of these episodes that we put in here as a recommended viewing, just looking for different things that I may have missed, from what I would, normally put in as a biome as a science teacher, right? Because they might say something or do something that is not something I would have thought of. So yeah. But even just there are a few of these that like they're only in that biome for the B plot. So you got to look for it.
Yeah, I struggled with planes. Like planes was a hard chapter for me to do. I fortunately was able to find a cool Tuvok quote, a song he actually was singing to those kids in that one episode of Voyager, about the fire planes, of the silent monks of Kerr, which I thought was kind of hilarious. But where you let me expand it, Jim, which I thought was really cool, is really in real life and in Star Trek, planes are usually where colonies get set up.
Mhm.
They're flat, they're safe, they usually have some sort of water source. So you let me really focus on, okay, what kind of colonies are you going to reach on a plane? And that reminded me of Star Trek 5, right? When you see that desert plane and where we meet Spock's brother and stuff like that. So that was kind of cool to see. Well, planes can be diverse too. I mean, you can have stampedes, hurricanes, tornadoes, all kinds of cool stuff running through it. No place is boring when you really start digging down.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up here in a moment as well. I absolutely love that. That's very inspired. Those culture and whatnot, because really, planes have been the cradle of life, on Earth forever. So why wouldn't they be elsewhere? So I thought that was really, really cool that you got that in there.
Yeah, I like that. The floodplains is very different from a prairie, for example, because prairies have, it's drier, but you can also have the very, very deep root system of multiple generations of grasses. That's what makes the Great Plains in America, so productive, are these really rich soils from all of that. But yeah, very different environments, but they're still plains.
Yeah, and something everybody did who did the chapters, I noticed, Jim was talking about the traits, and there's a trait box, but almost under every single explanation of the different plain random events, like, or everyone had this, you describe it. Right underneath it, most people had traits showing you what, like, the momentum cost, obstacle cost, potential traits, like potency traits. So as a game master, I'm like, oh, this is so easy now. The minute you're on this, almost everything has some sort of attribute that you can now write into the game and help inspire your adventure. So I think that this as a tool is like really, really creative.
Yeah, and I think what I really appreciated about all of you is, like Michael, when you added those bits in there about the civilizations on the plains, every one of you like took the basic outline, right, and then just added your own bits to it, so that each biome ended up being a little different. They weren't all cookie cutter, kind of like, okay, here's swamp, here's here's desert, here's forest. And I mean, they're all the same elements are in there, but you were able to add other stuff in and around that. Like there's a couple of the biomes that have like creature tables, so you can create creatures that are relevant to that biome. I just think it's really cool to see the diversity of stuff that we were able to cram into here. And again, I tried to keep all of it as much as I could, but there's only so much room to cram and fit and everything in. And Mihal Cross was our graphic designer on this one, and I think he did a great job. And he's incredibly patient with me. So like, well, can we do this? And can we do this? And can we move this over here? And can we do this? And we still got some white space over here. Let's fill up that white space. He appreciates white space more than I do. Whereas I'm one who just wants to cram as much content as possible into every page just to maximize the value out of it. And I love artwork, but I'd rather have words. I'm the perennial writer here. I can't help it. But yeah, so I just really appreciate that you all were able to make cool stuff. And I want to make sure people note that even within the depths of the text, you're going to find where certain terrain types or certain events within those terrains could create problems for your characters. There might be some hidden dangers in there. Like I'm looking at what is this one? This is where am I? The cave systems. There's a particular cave system where one of the issues could be a radiation spike, and you get this radiation spike. There's a little bit of mechanics right at the very end of the paragraph saying, well, okay, this is treat this as an attack on your character, and here's the the damage effects and the severity of the damage, that kind of stuff. So you'll see that sprinkled throughout the biomes as well, which I think is really good. Like what you were saying, Michael, is like a game master could just pull this book, boom, there's your traits. There's a potential hazard for your characters to deal with. There's a complication table. I know Michael loves his complications. And then you're off and running, creating a story, right? You don't really have to, you have prep time. You just start rolling.
One of the things I'd like to riff on too is my secret dream, which will never be fulfilled, is to have a Jane Austen random table book. And because I just find it so interesting, the interpersonal conflicts in Jane Austen films, that you're just watching people talk and dance and talk and dance and date and talk and dance and eat and talk and dance and date. But it's so riveting. And so imagine if you generate interpersonal conflict, like maybe the captain and an ensign are beefing for some reason, and so now you just drop them on an exploratory mission using this exploration guide and whatever other random tables, and they actually have a personality issue to solve, but you just keep throwing them into these biomes and they're surveying and all these complications and advantages. You end up with a show, even though personality A plot is the A plot, the B plot ends up being just the travails of exploration. I think that would be a fantastic game to play, and I think I want to design that with my team at some point. Everyone at home, they're just head nodding. This is one of those. I've set my phaser to stun again, and they're thinking.
Look, this book produces the page that you write the words on. That's the best way to put it. This is giving you the setting. This is giving you the background. This is giving you the map painting where your characters are going to walk in front of. And it does a very good job at it.
Mm. Yeah. And there's tons of little tidbits in here that, some people might not know, like how a majority of the planets you come across are deserts because they have no atmosphere, right? Or what's the difference between a jungle and a forest? Like that description is in here. So like look for those little tidbits, and it helps you paint the picture a little bit better, like Jim said with his friend, that it allows you to describe the environment that your players are in, right? Because when you want them to become immersed in the world that you are designing together, you want them to experience it, right? And you do that with words and good explanations.
Yeah, and I think about my my writing mentors over the years. A couple of them have reminded me that when you're writing a piece of fiction, or even a screenplay or stage play or whatever, you want to hit the senses every couple of pages, right? What are the characters seeing? What are they tasting? What are they smelling? What are they feeling? And I think in a lot of my Star Trek experiences, like my game masters and I didn't always go to quite that level of detail. I mean, sometimes we did, but it just wasn't always top of mind. And I think it was partly because we didn't have the right kind of tools on hand to go, oh, we're on an ice planet. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, we're on an ice planet, so we'll just kind of go with it. But like, it feels different, and it's cold, and the snow is crunching under your feet, or maybe it's more of an ice slick or something. And just as I was reading the manuscript, and even just looking at the PDF, all that sensory detail was starting to come out into play, and it's like, oh, okay, so you're in a swamp. You're not just in a swamp. You're knee deep in the mud. You're smelling you're feeling the mosquitoes on your skin, or the whatever the equivalent of mosquitoes are on this particular planet. And I think adding that level of sensory detail is always going to be better for your players, because you're drawing them in even further, and you're not kind of just like kind of paying lip service to what environment they're in. You're actually able to bring more detail to it.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, hopefully you're using this as more of an explorative tool to even go deeper into your stories.
I want to add that too. Recently, I did a hiking trip in northern Arizona, which to me is some of the most alien, beautiful part of the planet. And I could imagine taking photos of my vacation, you know, with no people in it, and then handing it over to my players and then using this book to describe what that environment looks like. So, of course, we have the internet now, so you could pull up, you know, pictures of forests, show it to them, and that's the visual. But now, to your point, Jim, you could really make it tactile and olfactory and all these other senses brought in with the descriptions that the authors wrote into this book.
There's a lot to say about drawing. I think you sort of touched on it there. There's a lot to say about drawing inspiration from our own world when it comes to writing these books and writing it, because there's a lot of places on our planet that seem like they could be something out of an alien atmosphere. You're mentioning deserts. I a few years back went on a vacation to southern Saskatchewan. There is a place called the Valley of a Thousand Devils, and there are actually like dinosaur fossils along the walking paths that you can go there. And it's like one of the things that they tell you there is you have to pack your own water in, because any of the water, there are streams, but all of the water there is extremely alkaline. You can't drink any of it. So you have to make sure you bring your own water source. You have to hike in. You have to make sure that you're not leaving any trace. And like, it's such a cool place, and it's just so wonderful to see.
It's so cool. And if you take pictures and bring them back and you write for Star Trek Adventures, it's a tax write-off.
There you go.
My story along that line, and I'm sorry for going off on a tangent, is going out to racetrack Pollyea in the middle of Death Valley with my wife. Alien environment, just absolutely flat, and it's so dry that you don't really understand the distance. You can't really see the distance properly because your eye is fooled to think it's all very, very much closer. But yeah, you're seeing something that's like 10 miles away, but it looks like it's, you know, a couple football fields or whatever. And it's just so flat that you can kind of almost feel it just doesn't feel right. I don't know, a very alien environment. It takes like a whole day to drive out there over like broken rocks, and you go past old steam volcano caldera, like just huge explosions that blew up rock everywhere, and now there's this giant crater.
I love that.
Okay, wow, that's alien, and that's in the United States, but it's very much something that I would always imagine would be on Vulcan, you know.
Yeah, I love it because when I put my players in those kind of environments, their imagination starts creating traits also. I know that maybe they're going on Google and saying, what are some of the attributes in this kind of environment? And then they're able to empower the story themselves. And that's really, you know, Jim, we talk about every episode, we're about sparking the imagination. There's no wrong answer. Your group should be co-writing with you. That's the ultimate game that really brings beauty to it. I really feel the exploration guide is just another pinpoint of inspiration that's added richness to the Star Trek Adventures legacy.
Thanks. Yeah, I think I mean that's a great point, Michael. I think with second edition, we're really trying to remind players that they are integral, right? You'll get more out of the game if you're actively engaged in it and you're actively contributing to it, and not just sitting back and waiting for the game master to tell you what happens next, right? be involved, be creative, and like, you know, everybody in a Star Trek game can be a writer, producer, director, you know, sound effects person, whatever. You can be super collaborative. And I know in my many years of Star Trek gaming, the best games, the best campaigns were always the ones where the players were engaged enough to add to the game. Like if they were playing department heads, they would take it upon themselves to flesh out their departments. They would create junior officers, and then they would even come to the game masters and say, hey, I created this character. I want them to have a connection with that other department head, that other player, you know, on some away team or something. And there was a lot of crossover and a lot of cross pollination. And it took a lot of work off of my back, right, as the game master, but it got them so much more invested in the game. So, you know, maybe in an ideal world, maybe the group has a copy of the exploration guide and they can just pass it around the table and like, oh, we're in a desert. I'm going to roll on some of these tables and just like start adding traits and adding other things to the story and just, you know, make it a really collaborative RPG experience.
Yeah, I would love that. Let them roll on the complication, then describe how it's affecting the group.
Yeah.
Or the advantage. I love doing stuff like that. Yeah. Super cool. Can we ask one question? You know, I know Can you believe we've already been at this for almost an hour? The maps I want to talk about because two different types of maps are presented in the front fold and the back fold cover. Why was that decision made?
Well, because it's exploration, baby. It's all about exploration. So I think I really wanted there to be more maps in this book on the front end papers and the back end papers. And I didn't want to do what we did in first edition and just repeat the same map over and over again in book after book after book. So I wanted, even though we zoomed in and zoomed out a little bit on a couple of cases, it was always the same, same basic maps. And I will admit it took me 7-8 months of research and just looking and begging the people at Paramount, can we please possibly get one of the maps that was on screen in Picard from the production team and use it, because they were able to do that with Strange New Worlds. The book, the map that's in the core book and the map that's in the front end papers of this book, it was actually pulled right off of the end of season 2 of Strange New Worlds, with all their wonderful annotations and planets and sections and whatnots. And it was beautiful. And so we used that one again, although we did make some tweaks to it, and I'll let the fans discover the tweaks that we made to it. Hopefully to make it a little bit more user friendly and useful, especially for an exploration type book. But in my months and months and months of research for this book, trying to find a Picard map, I found an interview online. One of the graphic designers who worked on Picard for one of the companies that was sub-licensed to work on Picard, Andrew Jarvis. He was one of the key graphic artists who developed the map that you see on screen in an episode of Picard season 3. So I reached out to him directly and said, "Hey, I am working on this RPG, and so far the Paramount team hasn't been able to source a map because, of course, Picard's no longer in production, and it's harder to find that stuff when you're no longer in production." And so we actually commissioned him to make an updated 25th century map from Picard season 3. So those of you who love Picard season 3, who love the end of the 24th century, heading into the 25th century, and you're getting ready, you want to play a game in that period of time, post Hobus Supernova, post Romulan, Romulus blows up. We now have the Romulan free state, the Romulan diaspora, whatever you want to call it. If you're looking for an up-to-date 25th century map, I think, I could be wrong by the time this comes out, but I think we are the only Star Trek publication in the grand nonfiction meta universe that actually has a 25th century map that's up to date.
It would be actually effective 2387 though, wouldn't it?
No, it's 2404, 2405, whatever the end of Picard season 3 was.
But the supernova happened in 2387.
Yeah, but it's on the map though.
Right, it is. That's what I was saying. So you could actually could play this. You could use it from 2387 forward, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then just as a nice little bonus, because I managed to make the budget work, because that's what you do when you're the project manager, is I managed to squeeze in a full-size map that's tucked into the back of the book. On one side is the 23rd century map, on the other side is the 25th century map on a big A4 scale folded in to fit in the map. And I was able to make sure that it was neither perforated, so you're not tearing it out of the book, and you're not unsticking it out of the book. It's just literally just stuck, it's just tucked right into the book. So hopefully, the printer doesn't have any issues with like collation before they shrink wrap it, and that hopefully none of the books don't include the map. But if that happens, certainly let Modiphius support know. But I thought that would be a really cool game made as well, because I remember back in the day for Star Wars and even D&D, and like every game that I played that included a nice big poster map, we would either laminate those and have them available to use in our games, or we would go to the local store and get a frame, and we'd frame it, and we'd have that framed map right there, right? And that kind of harkens back to Aaron, what you were saying earlier about how you wanted the players to be in stellar cartography, right, while they're playing the game. And the best way we could do that, back in the 2D analog world, back in the day, is like to have a flat map, in a frame available to look at and go, oh yeah, we're here, or we're here, or we're here, or whatever, or we're going to go here. So hopefully those maps will be cool for folks to enjoy.
And will the maps be available as individual downloads for people if they're using like Roll20 or anything like that, so they could upload them?
Well, the download package will include the PDF of the book and also the PDF of the map.
Oh, cool.
And, I haven't played. I mean, I think in Roll20, I can just drag and drop PDFs and images right into it. I'm assuming you can do that with other virtual tabletops. So yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
I don't know that we'll make it a free download for everybody, like on the website, but we'll talk about it. I'll talk about it internally with my people, but I don't see why we couldn't do that, other than it was just time and effort to pull it together.
So I have another observation, Jim. It feels to me like, as I was going through this, that there is a lot of new art throughout the book. Is that true? Like, did you commission like more than the typical number of art pieces for this book? Like, I feel like there's a ton in there.
Yeah, for this one, I think partly because we had 9 different biomes and 5 chapters, and again, space in the budget. Ariel and I are always trying to commission 25 to 30 new pieces of art for every book, and part of that is because second edition is still fairly new, and we want to build up that library of artwork, but also we consciously wanted to not reuse a whole lot of first edition art. We love the first edition art, but after 7 years, a lot of the same pieces were coming up frequently because they were so good, right? And it was hard not to reuse them. So we wanted to be careful about how much we reuse them, but also because second edition, we really wanted to expand the scope of the game. So you're going to see more artwork of Orions, Cardassians, Romulans, Klingons, non-Federation species and characters, because it's a big galaxy, and I think Star Wars, of course, does this really well because it's such a big, diverse universe. But I'm really trying to pull in more of that, and I think that requires us to create new art. But what we were also able to do, Al, and this may be something that you're catching, is that some of the first edition art we were able to strategically crop specific sections of it here and there and fit it into the corners, and we're using a little bit more quarter page illustrations or even eighth page illustrations, and that's partly is cropping and playing with it. So some of that old art is new again because you're focusing on different sections of it. But by and large, though, we are commissioning more art per book than we generally had before. And again, Ariel's really up the level of I don't want to say he's up the level of quality. We're just really focusing on it more and making it more cool. And I think
I do want to give 2 shout outs to 2 pieces of art that really took me aback because they're just really, really cool. On page 53, the Ferengi diving into the cave. My goodness, there are so many stories to be told just with that image. And I have so many questions. It is so beautifully done. I love that it's more than half a page, which is cool. It really feels like you are diving deep down into the cave. So I really appreciate that one. And then I really appreciate the Easter egg on page 99 that is a little bit silly in that image. So those of you that have the book can go look at page 99 and just look at the entire image and see what's there.
What? Now I gotta go look right now. I was I'm gonna do that right now. I'll look at page 99. My favorite piece of art is 126, the Romulans fighting some sort of snow creature. I don't know.
That one's very cool.
I don't know what the heck that is, but that is such a action-packed shot. I hope I can write it into a game someday because it's so good. Oh, I see the Easter egg. Okay, got it. I turned to page 99. It's super fun. It's a harken to a movie. That's all I'll say.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very nice.
I wonder if that's the movie I'm thinking of.
I think it is.
It's not the Spock helmet, unfortunately.
Not the Spock helmet.
But not the Spock helmet. You're right. It's the other end. It's the other end of the equation. Yeah.
It's hard to top the Spock helmet, and I'm glad we were able to fit that into the
lower decks
thing.
Yeah, lower decks. We got that in the lower decks.
We'll find a way to get that back. Cool. Yeah, so I think we've been at this for about an hour now. I think, you all sound excited about it, which I'm glad, grateful for, and hopefully fans will be excited for it too. Gosh, the sky's the limit with this book. There's so much you can do with it. And at some point we'll have to do some riffing episodes, and I'll be writing a blog post about how to combine this book with some of the other Star Trek Adventures books out there, and it's I mean, frankly, it's exhausting to think about the possibilities. And I almost wonder, I mean, this is just a random question that you guys can answer or not answer. We can just leave it to the audience to decide. Like, have we provided game masters and players too many tools to use? Like, are there so many possibilities now between first edition, second edition, and Captain's Log? Is there so many tools in your toolbox now that you're overwhelmed with possibilities, or is it just not enough? You want more?
I will say it creates a high degree of frustration, and I really wish I could retire rich right now so that all I could do all day is just play all the different ideas and concepts out there. But that is what's wonderful about life, is that the story and the adventures never actually end.
Mm.
Yeah, you know what might be a fun episode is if we like go through this, start with the sector generator, planet generator, system generator, and then like get to what biomes are on the planet, and just randomly see what we come up with in the end, and then try to make a story to go with it. That would be a fun episode to do.
We can do it all the way to the species, the factions, everything. Yeah. Totally.
I mean,
totally.
Like I said, I don't know that much about the West Marches style of gaming, but I am sorely tempted to sit down with this book, Captain's Log, the tech manual, and second edition, and just like find a group and start playing, and just like literally get on a ship and not even do mission briefs, right? Just use inciting incidents and opening, create opening teasers and just go and just like, okay, we're on a new 5-year mission.
Yeah, I'm looking at the grid behind AJ Fox for cool lighting, and I would start in the left-hand corner there, and that would be the first sector, and I would say, okay, which sector adjoining do we go to next? That would just keep running.
Work it out we mentioned this off the top, but a lot like West Marches.
Yeah,
you just go sector by sector.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That'd be so fun.
I'm so tempted to do that. I just need to find time in my schedule now. All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you all so much for being on the show. Really appreciate it. All you fans out there listening in, thanks for listening to us for an hour go on about this book. I hope you check it out. I hope you get excited about it. Hope you add it to your toolbox and have a lot of fun with it. So as per our tradition on this here show, let's do our gratitude. We'll start with Michael, Aaron, AJ, Al, and then myself. And then we'll wrap it up. So, Michael, what's your gratitude this week?
Sure. In the spirit of exploration, I'm going to tell people about 2 apps. I'm not paid to do this, but there are 2 apps that if you want to explore your continent, I don't know if it's available in all continents, but I know it's here in North America. The first map is called Just Ahead. App is called Just Ahead. Just Ahead is an app you download. It's most national parks in America, at least. And as you drive along the road, it narrates for you. So it tracks your location. So all of a sudden now coming up ahead is Red Rock, Arizona. Gives you a little history on it. Me and my wife use it all the time when we travel. We use it in California. We use it in other things. But when it comes to exploring, you find all these tidbits about these towns, trails. It even says like, stop here if you want to go on a nice leisurely 2-mile hike through blah, 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 blah. And so to me, it's like a great tool. That's the first app I use. And then the other one I think a lot of people know about, it's called All Trails. One, I like it just for safety alone because it downloads onto your phone. So even if you don't have a connection at the moment, it can still make sure you navigate safely along some back trails. So again, in the spirit of exploration, I'm going to say Just Ahead and All Trails. My gratitude goes to those because they sure make the nature experience fun.
Super cool. Aaron, what's your gratitude this time around?
My gratitude is all the people that I work with in writing. Because it's always a team effort. Even when you feel like you're doing a section on your own, you're still just a single person with a single kind of view, and having other people just come in and say, hey, here's an idea, or what do you think about this? It gets your mind going and you don't get stuck in a rut. So it does not matter. My gratitude goes out to everybody, including you, Jim, as the project manager. You're the one that kind of gets everybody to work together. I love it. It makes us all better. Teamwork is the best work. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Al. I appreciate it, Aaron. Always appreciate it. AJ, what's your gratitude for sharing tonight?
I'm going to give a shout out to my wonderful partner, Noir, who is actually playing his weekly Star Trek Adventures campaign right now, just over on Althaven with the Last Excelsior. And another shout out to, I'm a member of that cast, Sam Delev, who has a really fun science blog called May Contain Science. And one of the articles that I want to shout out in particular is Fictional Languages, Real Neuroscience, where it actually goes into depth about what your brain looks like when you speak fictional languages like Klingon. And how it actually registers in your brain in the same language centers that you would use if you spoke French. Yeah,
very cool stuff. Very cool stuff.
Very cool stuff. Love to Sam. Love to Noir. I don't think we haven't had Noir on the show yet, have we, Michael? I think we're overdue. We need to find a way to make that happen. We've had Sam a couple of times and just always enjoy. Al, what's your gratitude?
So my gratitude is going to go to my partner in crime here, Aaron Pollyea, because Aaron has developed this world in 1950s America where the aliens at Roswell actually crashed, and he has created a tactical miniatures game to go along with it called Saucer Squadron. But he also wanted to release a role-playing game along the side of it, and we called that Redacted. Redacted, he came to me and said that this is going to be rules light, and he knew that the system that I made for Once Upon was fairly rules light. So the threshold system that was my design, we are using for Redacted. So Aaron, I appreciate you putting that trust in me. Basically, Aaron is writing all the narrative and all the lore and whatnot, and then he sends it to me, and I go in and I put in the system stuff, how the mechanics work for everything. And so I appreciate, Aaron, you very much for putting faith in me and believing in something that I created to help bring your vision to life. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I wouldn't be able to do it without the teamwork, right? Makes us all better.
You guys are brimming with ideas. A factory of the Yellow Hand is a publishing company for RPGs, and I can't even keep up. I gave up. I can't keep up with us creativity. I got to slow down. So you guys are awesome.
Yeah, but how great to see all that creativity blossoming in ways and shapes we could not have imagined 5 years ago. Right. It's just so great to see you all growing and changing and creating new stuff and adding to the immense tapestry of things that are out there for us to play with and enjoy and fold into our games, right? Whether it's Star Trek or something else.
And we accidentally, Jim, had an elevator pitch yesterday at our meeting where we said the incident at the Hoover Dam with the giant cockroaches, and that was it. So like that was the pitch. So I think that, we have something good coming out. Hopefully it'll be released in the next month or two. It's gonna be great.
I love it. I can't wait to see it. I'm excited. My gratitude is I've been doing some exploring myself recently and hitting different areas of Northern Virginia. And I want to shout out 2 game stores that I've gone to in the recent last few weeks. Curio, there's 4 locations here in the Northern Virginia area. So they're super awesome, very helpful staff. My son is getting into Pokemon in a big way. He doesn't play the game, he just collects it because he loves the cards, as you do. But Curio, their staff has been super helpful with ideas and sorting through the 10-cent boxes and stuff, and just the bigger boxes, and informing him. So thank you, Curio, and your staff. And then also in Ashburn, Virginia, Huzzah Hobbies is a wonderful game store right there in the exurb of the DC metro area. Really nice store, really nice people, lots of gaming space, lots of gaming tables. So I'm excited. I'm hoping to run some demos there at some point. Just got to work out the details. But thanks to Huzzah Hobbies and thanks to Curio. Love you guys. I hope to see more of you and hope to be doing more with you. And then also my last gratitude, as always, goes out to the fans. Thank you so much for being with us for 9 years. Thank you for enjoying Star Trek Adventures. Get excited because in at least 3 weeks of recording this episode, Strange New Worlds Season 3 will be coming out finally. And I can't wait to see what they come up with. I've been watching the trailers and I'm like so excited to see what happens.
Me too.
They just look ridiculous. And Pike's Peak is getting a little taller every season. So I think by the end of the 5th season is going to be off screen.
I think it's season 5. They're making it look like Don King. I think that's what they just. Yeah. If I have my insider information correct.
There's a cartoon character that has a really giant. I don't remember the character's name, but anyway, so there's lots of Star Trek, lots more Star Trek to come, lots more Star Trek Adventures to come. So check out the exploration guide if you want to. Otherwise, stay tuned for more to come. And thanks so much for being here, as always.
IDIC.
Live long and prosper. Be safe. Be well. We'll talk to you all next time.